Good afternoon to you all on this 20th day of national lockdown in South Africa. I am Mark Long, rector of the parish of St Andrew in Newlands. I mentioned yesterday that the pandemic had got our backsides off the pews and got us back into our homes. Not because I think it's bad to be on a pew. Certainly there's nothing wrong about worshipping in beautiful buildings. But there's something about the nature of the early church as we see it developing in the early part of the book of Acts that speaks of a very deep commitment to building relationship. And quite clearly what we term now the Eucharist or Holy Communion really was more of a meal, less formalized, less ritualized, a place around which relationships really could develop in deep ways. The community meeting in the smaller context of each other's homes, a place in which they could share not just food, but share their lives, their concerns, their fears, their anxieties, their hopes, their dreams. And that's an important place. And somehow this virus, as we are tied to our homes at this time, enables us to explore what it means to be in these more nuclear community contexts or relational contexts. Some perhaps on your own and just reflecting about your relationship with yourself and God. For those of us sharing space with others, able to really reflect on our own relationships within the context of where we live. So I think part of it for me, and it flows in today's readings, Acts chapter 3, as well as Luke 24, it really touches on learning to meet God in the ordinary. And outside of something of the beautiful ritual that our services of worship and things often offer us. Recognizing that God calls us to be missional. A newish word, one that talks about mission, but mission and missionaries tends to carry a lot of colonial baggage. I'm sure missional is already starting to carry its own. But missional reflects on mission that doesn't take place on the borders of the empire in the far distance. It's God's call to live out our relationship with God and with God's kingdom, where we find ourselves. And where we find ourselves a lot of our time is in the context of home. It's in the context of relationship. And it's really important, I think, that we explore this. The early church had a deep commitment to these shared meals and times together and all the learnings and sharings that went around that. We see in Acts chapter 3 today, John and Peter heading off to the temple. So clearly that was still an important part of their lives. And on the way to the temple, there's an opportunity for mission and for caring. And the lame man is set free. And again, intriguingly there, Peter's response is actually, we can't give you what you want. The man's begging, he was wanting money. But we have something else to give you. And coming out of the relational growth and space that Peter and John shared, they were aware of the greater gifts that existed, not just the practical gifts of money and those kind of acts of service, but one that really could bring this man renewal, restoration. And the man, of course, rejoices in that. And the community that knew him are amazed by what God has done. And so I'm encouraging us at this time, as we live in this Eastertide, this post-resurrection time of our church year, really to think around and re-explore what really is important in our relationship with God. And what in today's world, as it changes around us, what is God calling us to? What is important? And I suspect that ultimately relationship is the foundation of all that we're able to do as God's people in the world in which God has placed us.